much hate for. You know, he's like, people fucking hate me, man. And this is my advice to you. You're not supposed to make pop music. You're supposed to do that. If you make pop music, that's being disingenuous in a lot of ways. And it was so intense for me in a way. And so I asked him to sing on the record, and he sings a harmony on a song that is death metal. It's just brutal fucking music. It's brutal. It's 7 minutes of 30-second note kick drums. You know what I mean? It's just like artillery fire. And then all of a sudden there's Jeff. But it's a harmony. It's hidden in it's not hidden in the music, but it's like it helps the music. It's a cool thing. Had I not had that experience with him, I think I would have been tempted to make something that would have, in a sense, gone in direct opposition to the thing that I've done for years that has allowed people to be so supportive. So I feel like I owe him a real debt of gratitude in a weird way. I mean, he was really drunk when he told me that too.
That's exactly what she told me when we got married. I was in this awful post-hardcore band, and I'd go home and listen to like Einstürzen und Neubauten, and then she said to me,
our first date, he's like, you want to hear my music? And I was like, oh God, okay. And I told him it was terrible. I was like, it makes my ears want to bleed, but like,
yeah, she said, they'd make what you
let's get
want.
married.
Yeah, and she saved me creatively.
Very
like,
good.
I'm not doing what I want. And
Very good.
she used to tell me every night, don't make a pop record, because I'd go to bed at night, oh God, there's so much money if I made a pop record.
But you know what I realized about the meeting with him is the reason why he's made money is because he's good at it.
Yeah.
And I realized while I was there that I could do the same thing and it wouldn't be the same. And watching his process, it was, he was a scientist. It was like, he's phenomenally fucking intelligent. And just the way that he was summarizing me, well, it was like Good Will Hunting in a way. He's like blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, yes. And he goes, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah. He says, why are your vocals so quiet on your music? And I'm like, well, I don't like singing. I don't like being heard. And he said, it's equivalent of like, have you ever played hide and seek with a kid? And he's like, puts a blanket over himself when he's in the middle of the living room and thinks that no one can see him. He's like, dude, it's too late. You gotta fucking turn your vocals up, man. But it was just, it's like, you know, I can't say that we're friends necessarily, but our lives are just way too different, way too different. But it was such a profoundly helpful meeting for me. Not only because he helped me with like questions that I can't ask people. Like, what do I do in this situation? It's like the pool of people that have had those sorts of experiences are few in my life, at least. So to have somebody that's like, this is what you do. This is what's going to happen. This is how you need to deal with it. This is, you know what I mean? Like, I like firing people, for example. I was like, do you fire people? You got to fire people every week. And I was like, dude, it kills me. He's like, well, you have a choice at that point. It's like, what are your objectives? And, I don't want to make it out like it was a bigger thing than it was, but it's an example of one of the things that happened on this record that shaped me in a way that allowed me to make this step on empath that I found terrifying. I don't want to be seen. And in fact, with DTP, it's been very convenient for me because I can structure how I want people to perceive me. I can say, I'll choose this photo and we'll Photoshop it. And you know what I mean? And like this here, we can auto-tune this and we won't put out that, but we'll put out this. And in a sense, you're not a caricature of yourself, but you're exaggerated in a way that if you feel like just being who you are, you're running up against a wall because, it's like people are like, oh, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know, whatever. So with this one, even with the photos, like, I mean, I can't dress myself. I hate dressing myself. It's like I've got a pair of clothes and that's per season, And I like winter best because my main accessory is jackets. I like jackets, right? So when it came to photos, management, label, a lot of people are like, well, you've started gotten this thing going for yourself, so we should put you in a suit and, put some makeup on you, all this stuff. But they weren't there for the photo shoot, so I wore Crocs and a Hawaiian shirt, right? And I had this like fishing hat and everything. And when they saw it, they were just like, why would you do that? And I'm like, well, because then I don't have to wear anything else. You know what I mean? When I go out in public at that point, I'm like, this is what I bring to the table, right? And there's really something to be said for musically in the same way when you're talking about improv, when you're talking about making music. The less you have to pretend you're something that you're not, the way more energy you're going to have for social things because people don't expect anymore. You know what I mean? It's like if you've got like, if I went out and wore a wig, like I think about some of these musicians that I'm sure we all know that wear wigs, like how much of a pain in the ass it is. I heard about a guy that had a guitar lesson with a guy that wore a wig, and when they showed up at his house, he didn't have his wig, and the guy was just like, "Who's this old man?" And then the old man left the room, and this guitar player comes back, right? And he's like, "Holy shit!" Right? But I mean, to go out in public every day wondering like whether or not people are like concerned about the fact that my hair is like I have no hair, it just seems like a lot of effort. So Chad was one of those guys that really helped with that. Keneally as well, like he contacted me about I gotta play that other guitar. I want to jam while we're talking. 2 seconds. So bam. All right. So let me see. What did I do? This one? What do we call it? That one. All right. And then we go bang. And then we go bang. Let's see. And then we go this one. Right. So when I write, this is how I write. It's like even as I was just talking to you guys there, I realized that without a guitar in my hands, noise gate, 2 seconds. So noise gate, eat all the dicks.
Is that patch called Cactus?
Yeah, it was not mine though.
Oh,
It's called
amazing.
Dirty Cactus.
If you YouTube Cactus prank call, best thing ever.
I YouTube, what did I YouTube the other night? Something about a cat, undoubtedly.
On a Roomba?
That was pretty good. Yeah, short cat, yeah. So when I write, this is how I write. So I talk, and my whole process is stream of conscious. Like when I'm with people, when I'm in environments, it's like, this is what I do. So to have a clean sound that kind of has a lot of echo, and the reason I use echo and have used it for so long is because in a sense it makes you interact with your past. And I like structuring themes that way, and I like structuring albums that way. I like the fact that the echo of this note works with this note. You know what I mean? Or you could go. So when I write, I basically just sort of sit on the couch or whatever and just do this with my fingers typically. And I usually use a guitar that is disconnected from work. So the frame of stuff is perfect for me, but it also reminds me of work, right? So I will play like an old acoustic. I got some old Waterlog Martin thing, I think it is, you know what I mean? Or like a telly or something, but I would never record with it necessarily or tour with it. It's just, it doesn't have that vibration of work attached to it, right? I forgot what we were talking about. Can someone remind me? It doesn't matter. What are we talking about now? So empath, yeah. Wigs. Yeah, neither of those things are interesting.
Writing process.
What's that?
Writing process.
Writing process. So there's 3 ways that I write. I have a template set up on Pro Tools. I use Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic, Melodyne. What else do I use? TuneTrack, you know, and then all the plugins and everything that go along with it. So I've got 3 specific types of writing that I do. One of which I take the template in Pro Tools or Logic, and I've got it set up that the first track is an instance of Superior Drummer, and I've made a kit that is sort of an all-purpose sort of kit. And then my studio is set up with a very minimal amount of output gear. I've got outboard gear. I've got the Axe effects, I've got an SSL compressor that I never use, and I've got a preamp that I use for my vocals, which is a Universal Audio 6176, or about $3,000, and I've had it for about 15 years, and I just have one microphone in there. So basically, I have my template set up. So under the drums is bass. I've got one cable that goes into a signal distribution. So that signal distribution goes into a Sans amp. It goes into a track that is preset with a compressor on it. And then below that, I've got 4 tracks of clean guitar, which are automatically bussed to the Axe effects. I've got 4 tracks of dirt guitar, automatically bussed to the Axe effects. I've got a Kemper as well, but I found now, see, everything's okay alarm. And so when I have an idea, I just arm the track that idea is going to be like congruent with. So it's like you've got, I've got an idea for a heavy track. All right, just arm heavy track 1. It's automatically on the Axe effects, right? I've got maybe 6 instances of software synths. The one that I use most often is called Omnisphere because it's got like a ton of like options. I always use presets as well. So when I'm recording, I basically just like scroll through the presets while hitting a C until it's something that I like, and I might modify it from there. But for the writing process, I just basically start there and then find something that's in the ballpark and then track. As a result, all my demos end up being the same sessions that the final tracks are, and they are basically at about 80% done by the time I'm finished the demo. So when it comes to a record like Empath or Transcendence or anything, I've recorded maybe 25 songs, and they're all kind of at 80%, and so it makes it really easy for me to release like a demo CD at the end. And on Empath, there is another 10 songs that are basically done. They're like there's a song on there called King that people wanted to have on the main record, but I decided during this process that I hate double records. When I see even a band I love, when they release a double record, I'm like, oh God, here we go. We got to get into this, right? It's like endless amounts of stuff. And there's also this sort of subconscious thought that like, couldn't I have edited that down, you know? So we made Transcendent, or the other one I'm talking about, work over a single disc. And the demos are derailed. See that? Isn't that great? I just was going down an avenue and I hit something heavy and I was just like, oh. And now we do it. We're talking about this. I should probably hit that note then. So that's how I write. That's the one way. The second way is improvisational. I'll get in a room with a bunch of musicians. I'll set up the recording so that it goes straight to tape, and then I just start playing. And I like reacting to people, as opposed to sitting down in a studio and people like, okay, well, I'm in D now, and then we can go to a C, and like intellectualizing it. I just play along with what other people are playing, and then that results in a really interesting type of musical expression for me. And in fact, there's some people I was working with recently who are really gifted musicians, but because they write more from the point of view of like, let's start here and let's map it out and let's make sure this rhythm scheme and this rhyme scheme works. I was just like, man, we should just watch Rick and Morty at this point because this is not working, right? And then the third way is I'll play like this, you know, and usually while I'm watching TV, right? I love documentaries. That fire one bummed me out. Holy fuck.
Wow.
And then what's the other one I saw recently?
The guy that sucked dick for the Evian water.
That was me.
Great.
I was thirsty, I know.
I need a friend like him.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Everybody needs a
guy like that.
dick sucking friend. I get that. So.